Good evening from Central Pennsylvania, and welcome to another Provident webinar. I'm your host, Ed Mann, Director of Training and Education for Provident. Tonight, I have the pleasure of introducing Jessica Borden, Account Manager for On Call International. I will have Jessica introduce herself in a few moments. We're also joined by Richard Judge from Axis, who will be listening in to this evening's presentation. On Call International manages the assistance services available to Provident clients who have our 24-hour accidental death and dismemberment policy, and I'll cover more about the policy itself later. Our 24-hour accidental death and dismemberment policy is just one of the many policies we offer to first responders. And again, I'll talk more about the actual policy when Jessica's done with her presentation. So as usual with our webinars, I'll go through our introductory slides. Well, I will if my screen advances. Provident's been in the business since 1902. They started in the Pittsburgh area as an independent insurance agency. And in 1928, the owners of the company realized, in particular, volunteer firefighters, when they were injured doing stuff for the volunteer fire company and couldn't work, they didn't have any types of income protection. So the company got started in 1928 offering accident and health policies initially in the Pittsburgh area. Today, we provide services to volunteer combination career firefighters, emergency medical responders with a multitude of programs. We also offer law enforcement and special risk insurance policies today. Our accident and health policy, in many places, a lot of people refer to it as the fireman's relief policy. If you're an accident and health client of ours, you and your immediate family members have the ability to use our first responder assistance program. You're able to call a toll-free number. Those calls are free of charge and very confidential. So if you or a family member were to need some help with any number of issues, you could call the First Responder Assistance Program. Tonight, we'll focus a little more on 24-hour accidental death and dismemberment policy. We also offer group term life policies to our clients. We have a critical illness and cancer policy, which will actually provide coverage for a heart attack, stroke, renal failure, or cancers. And several years ago now, we broke into the property and casualty line of business where we insure things. And if you are a property and casualty client, you would have access to our online Fire Plus Academy with over 800 courses, which is actually co-hosted by Fire Rescue One. On May the 27th, we'll be having a webinar with Will Anderson from Ohio when he'll be discussing fire chief burnout, the causes, consequences, and potential cures. I did a podcast with him last month that's been recorded, and it's setting things up pretty well for the webinar. And then tonight, as I said, Jessica Borden will be joining us from Global Assistance to talk about those programs. And I'm going to stop sharing. Jessica, welcome to the show.
Hello, how are you doing today?
Very well.
Good. My name is Jessica Borden, and I am here to go over your global assistance services that you have included in your 24-hour accidental death and dismemberment policy. I'm going to ask that you keep all questions to the end. We will take some time to go ahead and have a question Q&A, but I may answer some of the questions that you have during my presentation. I'm going to share my screen, make sure I have all my notes available to me. So again, my name is Jessica Borden, and I'm with On Call International, and we are the global emergency assistance company that is embedded in your accidental death and dismemberment policy. As part of the Tokyo Marine HCC TMHCC abbreviated family, On-Call has access to resources and local expertise around the globe. On-Call does not have a specific limitations on where we can operate around the globe, but we do exercise compliance with applicable OFAC restrictions. When you contact us, the front line of assistance is the assistance coordinator. An assistance coordinator will maintain all contact with the traveler throughout an active case, but some other teams may also interact with you when you call into the Global Response Center. For international medical cases, callers will be offered a nurse case manager consult at the time, to be scheduled later if preferred, and a nurse helpline may also be offered if a caller is uncertain whether they should be seeking emergent medical care. Lastly, the caller will be connected with a global security specialist if there is any safety-related incident. Once a case is established, other teams that may be involved are through our network of providers, and all services are provided with professional oversight and etc. We're going to talk about the user experience a little bit. On-call offers multiple channels for travelers to contact us for assistance. When contacting us via phone, if there is a brief queue, you'll be offered a callback without losing your place, and an assistance coordinator will already be on the line when you are called back. Our phone system has skill-based routing, which prioritizes your call to the group of assistance coordinators that are trained to handle your cases. We also offer 24/7 live chat to allow real-time access to an assistance coordinator using only an internet access. No phone plan or mobile app download is needed for that. Lastly, you can also email or text us to open a case. Once a case is opened, our case management system sends you an automated email confirmation that provides you with your reference case number. Let's talk about the assistance services that are included in your program. In order to receive assistance for a travel problem or an emergency, the first step is for you to open a case through the On-Call Global Response Center. Cases can be opened 24 hours a day via phone, email, or live chat. If the situation is urgent or emergent, a phone call is always best, when possible, to make it easier for the assistance coordinator to gather information quickly. It is important for travelers to understand that on-call is not a first responder. If local emergency response to get to the closest medical facility is needed, you should always contact the local equivalent of 911. Anyone can open a case for another person, but it is certainly helpful if we can speak briefly with the person that needs assistance if they're able to speak with us. An assistance coordinator, or an AC as we call them, will collect information from the caller and open a case. A case reference number will then be given, and the AC will advise if they have any request for additional information not available on the first call. Now we'll review when on-call should be contacted and the processes related to providing some assistance. You have the following emergency medical assistance services available to you: emergency evacuation from an inadequate to an appropriate facility. We also have inpatient medical monitoring. There's medically necessary repatriation, repatriation of remains, travel arrangements for family member or friend who travel bedside, and then arrangement of guarantee of payment for admission to hospitalization. We also focus on our travel assistance services. It's not just contacting us when you're experiencing an emergency. So we like to encourage the use of those non-emergent services. So when you consider non-emergent issues that occur during day-to-day travel, these are the events that can cause lost productivity and impact a traveler's reason for travel. For example, have you ever lost your luggage? The average time spent on the phone tracking down luggage is about 2.5 hours. We want you to be able to maximize the return on your investment and believe that if a traveler knows to contact us for less critical travel problems, they will remember that we can also help in an emergency as well. So if you are interested in having an arrangement of an in-person telehealth visit or an outpatient, please contact us. If you need help replacing your prescription, if you are experiencing cold-like symptoms and not sure if you should be seen locally, we can connect you with the nurse helpline. And then we also have like the pre-trip services. Say you are taking a trip and you're traveling or you're going somewhere and you need to know what types of vaccinations are required, you can contact On-Call and we can send you over some information that you can use to be able to book those vaccinations as well so that you can be covered. Also, you do have security assistance included in your program if you are experiencing a natural disaster or a security type event and you are feeling unsafe. You can contact On-Call International and we can connect you with the global security specialist. And we can also assist with evacuating you to the nearest safe haven for natural disasters and political situations. It does arrange for lodging and professional oversight as well. And we will be able to debrief you guys and speak with you. And your case is always handled by an assistance coordinator in conjunction with one of our global security specialists. All right, so that would be the presentation. I just want to leave it up for a second. If you guys have any questions, please feel free to reach out. Is there any questions that you guys have? I'm just going to pop up the chat. Okay.
Mute. The only question we had in the chat was somebody wanted to know if this was applicable to Canada. And the answer to that is yes. With our 24-hour policies in Canada, this would be pertinent and pertain to them as well.
Yes, it would. We are available 24/7, 365 worldwide.
Okay. I don't see anything else in the chat, and I don't see any in the Q&A. If there aren't any more questions, Jessica, you can stay on with us till I go through the slides about the AD&D, or you're more than happy to leave and tend to your family.
All right, fantastic. It was lovely to meet you all. If you ever have any questions that come up afterwards, please reach out and they'll send them over to me.
All right.
Thank
Thank
you.
you very much, Jessica. Again, thanks very much for your time tonight. Okay, so let's take a dive into what the 24-hour accidental dismemberment policy actually is. So I'm going to go off script here just a little bit. So a lot of fire departments are having issues with recruiting and retention. And I look at the 24-hour accidental death and dismemberment policy as a way that you can offer something to your members as an added benefit, if you will. And the name of the policy says it all. It's 24-hour accidental death and dismemberment coverage, meaning, let's say, for example, you purchase the policy and it has a $10,000 base face value. If one of your members was to die from an accidental death off duty, it would pay a $10,000 benefit to the beneficiaries. If that accident were to occur when they were on duty, it would pay a $20,000 benefit. So at the end of the day, it depends on what you purchase with the accidental death and dismemberment policy. Now, there's also other benefit that I'll go into here briefly in just a second. And the nice thing about these policies are they are not expensive at all. The premiums on them are very reasonable. And the best way to find out what it would cost you is ask your broker, your agent, or whoever you deal with at Provident to get you a proposal. So the coverage is available up to $500,000. There's coverage in the policy for accidental severe burn or disfigurement benefit, coma and paralysis benefit, seatbelt and airbag benefit. So if you, again, as I mentioned, if you were to get a $10,000 base policy, if the accident occurred off duty, it would pay a $10,000 benefit. And in most cases, it usually pays double that amount if it occurs on duty. There's bereavement and trauma counseling benefits also as part of that package. So Jessica talked about how you can get the assistance, the travel assistance. So I'm going to show you what's actually in the policy. So if your fire department purchases policy and you need to know what the travel benefits actually are, here's what those benefits actually are. So there's medical evacuation or repatriation of remains. So if you're beyond 100 miles from where you live, you're able to repatriate or have that body or the injured person move back home with this policy. Emergency travel arrangements, as Jessica mentioned, you make the phone call to them or do it through the text message or online. They can help you with emergency hotel arrangements, returning of a travel companion. You need a little bit of help with pre-trip planning with medical, behavioral, mental health, or dental. So in other words, you could call and say, hey, I'm going to visit here. I have this medical issue. Can you point me in the right direction before I ever travel there? medical monitoring, a 24-hour nurse helpline, prescription replacement. So you're traveling and you lose your prescription, you can make a telephone call to Jessica and her team, and they can help you with the replacement of those prescriptions. Uh, Coordination of benefits and guarantee of payment assistance. Pre-trip information and active travel advice. So you're getting ready to travel somewhere, you're not sure how things are in that country or that area of the United States or wherever you're traveling to, you could get information ahead of time. You end up in a country somewhere and you don't understand the language and you need help with a translator or interpreter, you can get assistance. Emergency travel funds assistance. I believe I had a friend of mine that was traveling in Europe and lost his wallet and was able to get some cash to be able to help him out. Uh, International legal assistance and referral. Now, they're not going to send an attorney to help you out, but they can get you pointed in the right direction to be able to get legal assistance or get you a referral. Help with lost luggage. Knock on wood, I've done a lot of traveling lately and haven't lost luggage in a while, but it would certainly be helpful to have that assistance. You lose or someone steals your travel documents, you could get help through with the travel assistance to get those recovered. Emergency messaging forwarding. So that's pretty much if you were to look at the policy itself. So if you purchased a 24-hour accidental and dismemberment policy through Provident for your organization and you needed to use the travel assistance part of it. And I'll be honest with you, that's one part of the policy that a lot of our clients don't take advantage of. And in some cases, what happens is I don't think the leadership in the organization shares that information with the membership. Uh, and I also want you to understand, I mentioned to you, Richard Judge joined us tonight from Axis. So Provident is a third-party administrator for insurance programs. Axis is actually the carrier or the insurance company that underwrites our accident and health policy and our 24-hour AD&D policy. And they're the reason that these travel benefits are part of the 24-hour accidental death and dismemberment policy. Uh, our management worked with the folks from Axis years ago, and they included this as part of that AD&D policy. So that pretty much concludes the slides for this evening. Again, there's the information, the phone number for one call, the email address that you can use. If you're calling from overseas, you can call collect. Here's where you can follow Provident at on Facebook, X, LinkedIn, and our Facebook account. And do we have any questions, Sam?
Yep, we have one in the Q&A.
All right, let's take a look at it. Can you elaborate on the line of duty death benefits? Is a member's salary if they die from a recognized occupational disease or injury? No, this is so. Here's the best example I can give you. Let's say you purchase an accidental death and dismemberment policy, and the base amount on the policy is $10,000. So typically, your proposal would be $10,000 and $20,000. So if the individual were to die from an accidental death off duty, it would pay a $10,000 benefit. If they were to die from an accidental death on duty, it would pay a $20,000 death benefit. Now, you can ask for those benefit amounts up to $500,000. So whoever you're working with, when you get that proposal for the accidental death and dismemberment policy, you would tell them what you want those amounts to be. Typically, when I get a proposal for somebody, I will get 3 different levels of coverage. So I'll do like 10 and 20, 20 and 40, and 40 and 60 to give the client an idea of where the premiums would be with those amounts. Ryan, if you want to give me a thumbs up or something, if that answered your question appropriately. Yep. I saw a
Yep.
thumbs up. And then I see a second thumbs up. So we must be okay with the answer. So again, I want you to keep in mind it's an accidental death. Okay. If someone dies from a heart attack, it's not going to pay any benefit. It has to be an accidental death. Uh, and again, there's benefits. There's burial benefit within the policy. Uh, if people are wearing their seat belts and they're involved in an accident and there's airbags deployed, there's additional benefit. Uh, so there's more to it than just a death benefit. Uh, Burns and disfigurement benefits. I mean, obviously, we're in the fire department, folks, so the likelihood of someone suffering a burn injury is pretty significant at times. And I can tell you that uh, they're pretty good. We've had several people that have filed claims with dismemberment over the years that have received benefit amounts as well. And that depends on how much of a limb or a finger or toe or leg that you use. It's based on a percentage. I don't see any more questions in the QA. I don't see anything in the chat. I'll make sure we don't have anything still.
Yeah, I think we're good.
Okay. I'll make sure our collective agreement specify our employer pays 2 times the salary for the AD&D off duty. Recently, they said they cannot find a fine policy. Ryan, the best thing I can tell you to do is I'm going to put tomorrow when you get your certificate, my email address will be there. If you email me with the name of your department and that information, I will try to run things to ground for you and your department. Would that be okay? Give me a thumbs up. Ryan Wells. Yes, thank you. You'll have my email address tomorrow when you get the certificate. Send me an email with the name of your department, where you're located, and I will try to run that information to ground for you. Okay, I don't see anything else. Sam, do you see anything else?
I do not. I think we're good.
Okay. So I want to remind our audience there'll be a brief survey we would like you to complete. Please keep an eye open in your email from me that will have your certificate of attendance attached for tonight's webinar. Again, tonight's episode will be uploaded to providentins.com. You'll receive that link in an email within the next day. Please make sure you check your spam or junk email before emailing me to tell me you never received your certificate. For those of you who use the webinar as training for a group of people, when you receive the thank you for joining us email from Sam, there'll be an Excel spreadsheet attached. Please use this to send the names and email addresses to us for certificates. It makes life easier for me when I'm doing the certificates. You can view previous webinars at www.providentins.com and use the training resources link in the upper right-hand corner of the page. On May the 27th, I'll host Chief Will Anderson doing a live webinar at 7 p.m. Eastern Standard Time, when he'll be presenting Fire Chief Burnout, Causes, Consequences, and Potential Cures. Please keep your eye open for the registration. Also, I have retired Lieutenant Mike Wilbur from the FDNY lined up for June the 30th to do a live webinar on talking about apparatus needs and specifications. With the ever rising cost of apparatus these days, I think that would be a great webinar for people to tune into to learn a little more about their actual apparatus needs and how to write an effective specification for the apparatus that you might want to purchase in the future. Until we meet again, stay safe for your family's sake.